going on?
Thank you so much.
Pay like $1 million.
Shout out TMZ, you up?
Let me check out that rig.
TMZ stands for the Mayweather Zone.
How'd you find me, bro? I got my disguise on.
I love my TMZ family.
Welcome to TMZ Sports. Lucas here. We're going to start things off with Doug Martin, who passed away at 36 years old over the weekend. Not many details were out at the time of his death, but we have received an update Monday night via his family, who spoke out and wanted to provide a bit of clarification on what happened.
So this statement actually comes from Athletes First and the CEO of Athletes First, Brian Murphy, who's issuing this statement on behalf of Doug Martin's family. And I'd rather read it to you than paraphrase. The key points of it are this. Privately, Doug battled mental health challenges that profoundly impacted his personal and professional life. Ultimately, mental illness proved to be the one opponent from which Doug could not run. Doug's parents were actively seeking medical assistance for him and had contacted local authorities for support. Feeling overwhelmed and disoriented, Doug fled his home during the night and entered a neighbor's residence 2 doors down, where he was taken into custody by police. An investigation of what transpired as he was detained is underway. The family requests privacy as they navigate this heartbreaking loss. So you recall, according to cops, at around 4:15 a.m., they said that Doug was a burglar of a home in Oakland, California. And they said when they got to him, he was having some kind of medical episode or whatever they wanted to call it. They put him into custody. He became unresponsive. And after they transported him to the hospital, he died. So from the statement, they're basically saying he had some kind of mental health episode, broke into his neighbor's home. And when he was placed in custody, something happened. That's still the key, ingredient of what we don't know what's going on, what happened between him and cops that caused him to lose his life. But at least we have some kind of, sense of what actually played out in that Oakland neighborhood on Saturday morning.
And that was one of those things that we were talking about in the newsroom on Monday is this doesn't necessarily make sense based with the information that we had at the time. Now with the family providing more, just shedding light on what led to this, Mojo, like we said, there's going to be a lot more information to come out here. But, now that the family has spoken out and we got a little bit more on this, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, we had a lot of questions yesterday. There's still some right now, but I gotta say, mental health issues make sense of things that don't make sense, right? We've seen just the debilitating circumstances of what can happen when you have CTE and your brain isn't functioning properly. And this was a physical ball player. This was a guy that probably got hit in the head just about every single time he was on the field, probably multiple times as a ball carrier, right? So you never know what's going on literally under someone's helmet until sometimes years down the line, unfortunately, when everyone is acting normal and cool and calm and collected and all these things. And then all of a sudden there is just one episode that doesn't make any sense at all. And when you find out that maybe there were some mental health issues going on that may or may not be related to brain trauma, it all starts to make sense here. It's just really sad too for the family. They knew what he was going through. They were trying to actively help him. And then this goes and happens almost immediately. The family has got to be devastated. Just such a difficult thing for them to be in. How do you handle a tough situation like that? People with mental health issues, they don't always want to confront them and try to fix them. They might not even realize that anything is gone. And as a family member, you want to be there and you want to be supportive, but at the same time, you want to protect your family members. And where is the line in these circumstances? And gosh, this is just the worst decision for that family to make. So, condolences to all parties involved. What led him to go into that other house and what transpired from there. Maybe we'll get some answers on that, especially when it's talking about, a loss of life. But again, just a terrible thing to hear.
Absolutely, Mojo. And, we still can't make that connection just yet based on, the mental health issues and whether this was related to CTE or anything like that. That's something that they would be able to test after the fact, after his passing. But, we see this all the time with football players we idolize. We don't think about what happens to them off the field after this. And, if that were the case, it's just absolutely tragic.
That was George Springer in the 7th inning of Game 7 of the ALCS against the Mariners, hitting maybe the biggest home run in Blue Jays history. It was a 3-run shot that essentially gave Toronto the series-clinching win over Seattle. It was an incredible game. The Mariners were up throughout most of the night. In fact, going into that inning, it was 3-1. But again, Springer's dinger made it 4-3. They were able to hold on. And you might be surprised to see this, but Drake was perhaps the most happy about it. Take a look at how he watched the last out of this game last night.
One strike away. What do you mean? We're here. It's already written. We're going to the big show. We're going to the big show. Get the boys a pizza and some Cokes. We're going to the big show. Dummies. We're going to the big show. Let's go.
Drake, of course, is from Toronto. I say you might be surprised because he doesn't rep the Blue Jays all that often. He's much more known as an NBA guy with the Raptors, but nonetheless, he's a Blue Jays fan, especially after they're now headed toward the World Series. Lucas, the biggest, perhaps, angle for us involving this World Series is now it's Drake and the Blue Jays versus the Dodgers and who else? Kendrick Lamar.
Kendrick Lamar. If you see the streams for Not Like Us skyrocket over the next few days, it is because of this. Now, the song has become, an LA anthem and anyone who does not like Drake anthem. But this is just a match made in heaven, especially with what went down in 2024 between these two. You couldn't have written it any better, but you have to wonder, okay, now, does Kendrick throw the first pitch at Game 3 in LA? Does Drake do something at Game 1 or 2? There's so many options here, and the MLB absolutely has to latch onto this and get some more, excitement, some generation into this. We've been talking so much about baseball being boring. Well, guess what? It doesn't have to be boring anymore, and they can do the Drake and Kendrick beef and just run with it.
It's quite a dangerous game, Mojo, for Drake to play. Again, I've watched baseball pretty heavily over the last several years, and I haven't seen Drake do a whole lot of repping at the Rogers Center. And now he's repping Toronto against his nemesis, Kendrick Lamar. And by the way, the Dodgers are probably the favorite, and in fact, they're probably the massive favorite. I would expect them to win in 4 or 5 games here. So, Mojo, what do you think of Drake kind of jumping in this one at this juncture? Possibly facing off with his nemesis over the next couple days.
Dude, is this not the absolute best case scenario possible for the MLB? Like, what? This is the best thing that could have happened to them because now they are getting an entirely new demo to come aboard and care about this matchup. This is fantastic. Also, side note, why is Drake's TV so small, right? That dude's rich.
Why wasn't he at the game?
Right. If he's such a big fan, why aren't you at Game 7?
What's happening here? I don't understand this. So there's that, but I'm going to leave that alone for now. I mean, this is fantastic. We were able to capitalize on this one for the Super Bowl just recently, except Kendrick performed. Drake was at home. He had no voice. Now they're on an even playing field for whatever is going to transpire after this. And I love it. You're going to each of their houses for these games. Again, this is best case scenario. The league better monetize the hell out of this. Both these guys got to be happy too. I mean, you got to think it's great for their brands unless one gets torched in the head-to-head, maybe like what happened before. Maybe then it's questionable. But either way, you got your chance at redemption here if you're Drake. And this just made this whole thing a lot more fun for casual fans and people that didn't previously care about this matchup at all.
Game 1 kicks off on Friday night at the Rogers Center. Stay tuned.
We saw how Drake and the Blue Jays celebrated. Up next, a much different mood in the Mariners locker room. Tears and shrieks are coming your way when TMZ Sports rolls on right after this.
Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Unfortunately, in the ALCS, while there was a winner, there was also a loser, and the Seattle Mariners took this as hard of a team as I've ever seen in a sporting event. Cal Raleigh was in tears, and in the post-game locker room, somebody let out a shriek. Listen to Cal first, and then you can hear the scream, and then we'll talk about it all afterwards.
Cal, you obviously didn't want it to end this way. Just what's the feeling in the room right now?
It just sucks. You know? Hurts, and it's I hate to use the word failure, but it's a failure, and that's what we expected, was to get to a World Series and win a World Series, and that's what the bar is and the standard is, and it's what we want to hold ourselves accountable to.
But what ultimately do you feel like the legacy of this team is going to be, having gone as further than any other team in franchise history?
That, legacy is no one's really satisfied or happy with this, I think.
Yeah, there was reports that was Julio Rodriguez who let out the scream, and of course Julio was the last out of Game 7. Mojo, I don't know how closely you followed the Mariners this year, but they were such a special story. Cal Raleigh was unbelievable. He probably is going to win the MVP over Aaron Judge. They came up time and time again in these playoffs, made everything happen up until the 7th inning of Game 7, and to go out like this, it was a rough one, man.
Especially when you factor in that they are the only team to never reach the World Series, and this was the year, and the fans were ready, and the players were showing out, and Cal was the talk of the town, and everything's looking good until it wasn't, man. It is absolutely heartbreaking to be a part of something like that. I mean, look, at the end of the day, they all are still going to play. This team has another shot in the future. This wasn't their last opportunity, but a lot of teams, it's a lot of players on that team. It's going to be difficult to even hear that right now, right? Like, they think this was their shot, and to be able to make it this far again when people are watching for them and game planning for them with a year heads up. I mean, you see it. Some teams never make it back to make a late run. I would say the big dance, but they fell just quite short of that. So, I mean, that's tough, man, and you feel for the players. And, I've lost some big games before, and I was a part of some teams that, we thought we were going to make a much longer run than we did, and things fell short. And, sometimes you never let these things go, but at the end of the day, unfortunately, that's sports. There's a winner and a loser, and hopefully you can come back stronger the next year. But they certainly had a lot of momentum, and they certainly had a lot of people rooting for them. It just sucks it ends this way, right?
The Caitlin Clark craze continues in Indiana. Wait until you see how one beauty pageant contestant paid homage to the WNBA superstar. We'll show it to you next on TMZ Sports. Welcome back to TMZ Sports. The Caitlin Clark effect is real. You already knew that. The WNBA has never been more popular, ticket prices are through the roof, and she's on every commercial known to mankind. But she's now invading the Miss USA pageant.
Well, of course, Miss Indiana had on a custom fit that represented Caitlin Clark with the crop top Indiana Fever and some shorts, and it was amazing. It actually went viral, so I reached out to her and spoke to her about it. Was she expecting the reaction that she get, or was it a little bit overwhelming? And we talked to her. Check it out.
I knew that it would be a little trendy. That's part of why I wanted to do it, right? Caitlin has done so much for women's sports in the last year. And it's really just put women's sports at the forefront of what people are talking about on social media. So I knew it would get a positive reaction. I did not think it would get an overwhelmingly positive reaction, but I'm super excited to say the least.
She was very hyped about it. And even though it went viral and everybody was, doing the story about it, especially us, she hasn't heard from Caitlin yet. But she did hear from one of the Fever teammates, Lexi Hall, who's gorgeous, by the way, I must add it. She reached out to her saying that she loved it and she wanted to vote for it on Miss USA pageant, which is running all week. But even though Caitlyn did not reach out to her, she actually invited Caitlyn to Miss USA event. She actually wants her to be a judge to vote on, all the outfits and everything. And I think that's kind of cool because, with the WNBA recently, Angel Reese and everybody, like it's turned into a fashion runway every game, when they enter the stadium. So I thought that was a cool idea from her. And her outfit is also getting attention from photographers. She said that she got a couple of calls from people who want to do photo shoot with her in that outfit. So it's a good look for her and a good look for the Fever as the WNBA and Caitlin Clark effect is still going strong.
Very smart move by Miss Indiana. And you got to feel bad for the other contestants because when she shows up in that, it's like, come on, I needed a better idea. No shade to them at all. But Caitlin Clark, you got to do the right thing, reach out to her, whether you're going to show up to Miss USA 2025 or not, or maybe some courtside seats at a game next season.
That'd be right. And she also wants to do it for the Colts and Pacers because she's an Indiana fan, like hardcore sports fan. So she wants to also do it for the Colts and the Pacers, but she's going to do that in the future.
Pick up the phone, Caitlin. A major college football program is asking fans to stop tossing food on the field. We'll get to the bottom of Tortilla Gate at Texas Tech next on TMZ Sports.
Welcome back to TMZ Sports. Texas Tech football might be putting a wrap on one of its biggest traditions, Lucas. Because their athletic director, Kirby Hocutt, said this week he wants them to stop throwing tortillas on the field. Tell me why.
I don't want to because you just made that terrible pun, but good. Yeah. That's so good. Kirby Hocutt, longtime fan of the tortilla throwing kickoff tradition that they have at Texas Tech, is backpedaling quite a bit. So remember, back in August, there was a vote, 15-1, one being Texas Tech, about throwing objects onto the field. Texas Tech wanted to protect that tradition as much as they could. Fast forward to Monday, Kirby went in front of the reporters and he practically got on his hands and knees and begged fans to stop doing this because just last week, the Big 12 decided, you know what, because of this whole fiasco, there's going to be hefty fines and penalties on the schools who participate in stuff like this.
So Mojo, it begs the question, well, first of all, how in the world was this a tradition that lasted all the way to 2025, given everything we've seen in sports with fans throwing things on the field? But number two, now that it has been kind of grandfathered in, or now that it was kind of grandfathered in, how do you feel about them having to kind of remove it?
I want to keep it. I like it. I think it's fun. I think it gives something to the fans to look forward to outside of the game. It's something that the fans feel like they can be involved with and participate in. And I'm positive that it is likely a nightmare to clean all this crap up. Like that is definitely a pain in the butt. But man, if it puts fans in the stands and you're selling tickets and making revenues for it, it is what it is. Plus, you can't tell me that you can't find a sponsor that's willing to fork the bill for this kind of thing, right? This is custom made for a good partnership here. A little experiential marketing to throw some terms at you there, Ed. But I don't like it. I think it's fun. I understand that they're going to argue safety elements and all of these other things. And if it's one school and no one else is doing this, there's that. But, another thing I think of too, Ed, is what if the away fans start showing up and they start throwing stuff on the field to get fines and penalties for the other team? I mean, what does that look like? I mean, there could be some dirty business around the corner here.
All right, before we get out of here, new story just hit our desks. This is an interesting one. Travis Kelce is turning some childhood memories into a new business endeavor. He has talked many times on his New Heights podcast about being a lover of roller coasters and particularly Cedar Point. Well, he just joined an investment group to get about 9% of Six Flags, which is the ownership company that is behind Cedar Point. And he shared videos of himself as a kid going to Cedar Point, talked about how this is a full circle moment for him, but really cool for him to go on and make millions and millions of dollars in the NFL and with his off-field endeavors, and then bring it all back home and talk about how much this means to him. Mojo, personally, as a guy from Sandusky, Ohio, I think this is really awesome. What do you make of all this?
People always ask you, like, if you had a billion, if you had $1 trillion, how would you spend it? I think I'd buy a theme park, actually. That would make all the sense in the world. And Travis Kelce, as he's knocking on that door, I guess he's close enough where he can feel like he can buy a piece of a theme park. But I love this. You said it, man, kind of capitalizing on things that you loved as a kid. Theme parks are a great time. I live over here in Orlando, Florida. We got Disney World. We got Universal. I go to the parks all the time. I still get very, very much excited for my park days. I actually don't have annual passes so that I can save my park days and make them special and really not waste them. I have heard of Cedar Point. I've never been there, but even when I was a kid, I heard Cedar Point had some of the craziest rides, if not the craziest rides in the world. So very cool. You Ohio boys definitely stay together. So I know how much you love theme parks. I know how much you love your hometown. So this is just the best story all month for you, probably, pal.
Absolutely. It brings everything home for me as well. Don't be surprised if we see Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift riding Steel Vengeance together, maybe Millennium Force, Maverick, Raptor, whatever. But, you know, when Miley Cyrus came to Cedar Point one time, it was the biggest news of the month. So if that happens, expect it to be the biggest news of the year. That's all we got. Mojo, hey, really big news as well. Someone is back tomorrow where it'll be
the best show since today.
I'm a lawyer.